This is NBC Palm Springs. Breaking news.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Sarah Sanchez. Gina Lamont has the night off. We have a lot of information to get through tonight about the Apple fire as it burns through wilderness. This is a live video from our Agua Caliente casino camp in Rancho Mirage today. Once again, smoke pouring from that mountain range as the fire picked up once again. Winds remain a factor for firefighters this Thursday. And still the fire has grown. Right now, more than 28,000 acres have burned. The fire stands at 30% contained at this hour. It's destroyed 4 homes and 8 other structures. A second injury has also been reported. Full containment is expected August 17th, and that's next Monday. Having said all that, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department posts on social media that Morongo Valley is now subject to an evacuation warning. This will give people extra time to evacuate and to prepare now as a precaution. These orders help people specifically with livestock and pets. We've also learned the same warning is now issued for people living in Whitewater. Compounding the problem for people living in or near the fire zone is the threat to their water source. We have live team coverage with Mike, who's tracking our weather conditions from the Weather Center. But we begin with Olivia Sandusky. She's in Banning Heights with the very latest for people living there. Olivia.
Sarah, the fire may be up in the hills right now, but it cut just through this area near the Banning Heights Water Company. It did cut off their supply starting on Saturday during a time when this resource is so crucial.
From here, it just took off.
Julie Hutchinson surveys fire damage at the Banning Heights Mutual Water Company, a nonprofit that treats flume water for the local community.
This flume has been in place and in operation since 1909. Diversion structures that capture the water and put it into that cement line flume with the boards across it. It's a very pristine source of water, and it has supplied this community and about 30% of the city of Banning's water needs for over 100 years. So it's of great value to us.
As the Apple fire ripped through the hillside, it stopped the flow of water from the flume around 3 o'clock on Saturday. With the community's supply now cut off, they're relying on water from the city of Banning, which fills this large storage tank and is already up to 14 feet. But relying on backups isn't cheap.
By owning property here, you are an owner of this mutual company. So anytime the costs go up to either purchase water or to set generators or to run the wells, that is an added cost. It adds to the cost of things, and that's going to impact us all.
In a briefing at the command post this week, Congressman Ruiz discussed ways to help Banning Heights residents.
I'm currently working with the community and the private industries that are stakeholders in the federal government to come up with an agreement to repair the flume. Now there may be resources that we can pull together as a community to have water security for their livelihoods and for their personal health.
And members of the community say they hope an agreement is reached soon.
We've lost the primary and we've got some emergency backups. How long those will last is the question.
And this is one of the few cities here in Southern California that does rely on a flume for their water. They haven't been able to assess just the extent of this damage because the fire is still active. They hope to be able to do that in the coming weeks. Reporting live in Banning, I'm Olivia Sandusky.
All right, thank you, Olivia. Now we're going to send things over to Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett, who has a look at the conditions out there. Mike.
Sarah, it was a bit of a good news, bad news scenario today. We were talking about this yesterday. The good news is an unseasonable trough of low pressure is making its way across Southern California as we speak. In fact, you may have noticed that today. It was not hot out there. Temperatures well below average. And it's also got an added bonus to it. It's pushing in some of that moisture from the ocean. None of that manifesting as rain, but there was some low cloud cover and fog that stretched all the way into the Inland Empire today, and that is fantastic news. As long as we can keep the atmosphere reasonably moist, that is great news for the firefighters. Unfortunately, there was a price tag attached to that. Whenever you've got a trough in the region, you also see those winds picking up, very similar to what we saw yesterday. Gusts will get up to about 30 miles an hour in the vicinity of the fire. Let's take a look at radar right now. A lot of nothing going on. There are some light sporadic showers just off the coast there. As we push the button, there are no watches or warnings in place here, so the winds, again, typical for this time of year, getting up to about about 25, 30 miles an hour in the passes there. All of that will sit down after 8 o'clock tonight. I'll give you a closer look at that in a moment. We've been talking a lot about the geography. You saw that time lapse of the smoke earlier today, and what's been merciful for us is that that wind has continued to keep more of a westerly versus a northerly or northwesterly bent to it, and so it's taking all of the smoke basically across the San Bernardinos, out through the San Gorgonio wilderness there, and then out into open desert. It has not been a pleasant affair for folks in the Yucca Valley or out towards 29 Palms, but for the most part that smoke is just dissipating as it moves out into the high desert where there's less population. Taking a closer look here, here is the Coachella Valley. There's Banning and the Banning Pass, and this is the area that we're discussing, and those flames have been continuing to move from the west to the east over the last 5-6 days now, and will continue to do that over the next couple of days. And again, the wind is blowing about 25-30 miles an hour. It'll peak tonight. We'll put future winds into motion here. Everything you see are sustained winds. So at 6 o'clock tonight, we do expect our sustained winds to be in that low 20 range at Palm Springs International. And then in the Cabazon and Banning, we'll see some sustained winds in about the 12 to 15 mile an hour range. That puts gusts up to about 25 and 30 in isolated spots there. All of that expected to calm down by 8 o'clock tonight. In fact, as I put that into motion by 9 p.m., I'm expecting to have those sustains closer to single digits there. Cabazon will have some sustained winds about 10 to 15 miles an hour with those gusts up to about 25. But as is normal this time of year, the later that it gets, the calmer it becomes. We get everything back into single digits on Friday, and expecting it to be less gusty on Friday afternoon as that trough continues to break down. It's going to do a couple things for us. It's going to warm temperatures, but lower those winds. Neighborhood weather right now, look at this. It's 102 degrees at Palm Springs International in August. Winds coming in sustained there about 18 to 20 miles an hour. Again, gusts up to about 25 and 30 tonight. About another 2-3 hours, and then that should all start to settle down. Humidity sitting at 11%. Relative humidity up in the mountains tonight will drop down to about 15, but should make a beautiful recovery up into the 40s tonight. Tonight, we're going to cool very efficiently. If you're planning on doing anything, well, it's going to be spectacular. Make sure you take advantage, because over the next 3 days, it will start to warm. Another below average day on Friday gives way to some more seasonable weather this weekend. I'll tell you whether it's going to get hot behind that or not coming up.
All right. Thank you, Mike. And we have one new piece of video from a viewer of a helicopter airlifting water from a tank near Morongo Casino. A dramatic display of efforts by air crews doing their job to help ground crews. Fire crews are using every resource available. Of course, we'll have continuing coverage throughout the evening. Our other big story, a series of cases of missing people, 6 to be exact, all disappearing over a span of several months, all from the same area. None of them are connected. The cases are based in Idlewild and have drawn enough attention in the mountain community that it's spilling over now into the Coachella Valley. Our Kitty Alvarado is tracking the story tonight. She's here in studio with what she found out. Kitty.
That's right, and these stories are devastating because these people are someone's whole world. We spoke to the mother and son of one of the missing people. They're heartbroken and hopeful they will come home soon. We hope someone does recognize all of these 6 missing people and that they're all found safe. Roy Profogel, Lydia Abrams, Rosario Garcia, Melissa Lane, Vanessa Vlasic, and Jade Kemmer don't know each other, have no connection, but they do have one thing in common. They've all gone missing from the mountain communities above the Coachella Valley within the last 5 months. The last person reported missing by her family is 30-year-old Jade Kemmer. She was staying at the Bluebird Cottage Inn in Idlewild. Her mom, Debbie McGee, who lives in Ohio, says she met up with Jade to pick up her 10-year-old son in Hemet on July 22nd. They flew back to Ohio with the agreement Jade would drive home in her white Kia Optima soon after. No one has heard or seen her since. Her mom is worried sick.
Absolutely, it's out of character. She surely would have contacted me by now. I would give my life for her.
The Riverside County Sheriff's Department says these 6 missing persons cases aren't connected. On March 4th, Roy Profogel went hiking in the Pine Cove area. An intense 6-day search by mountain search and rescue teams was unsuccessful. On June 4th, 41-year-old Melissa Lane was reported missing from Idlewild by her mother. As of August 5th, she was declared officially missing. On June 7th, 65-year-old Lydia Abrams was reported missing. The Riverside Mountain Rescue Unit searched a ranch in the Apple Canyon area. She has not been found. 73-year-old Rosario Garcia was last seen on July 7th. It's believed she suffers from dementia. Her car, a gray 2016 Nissan Altima, was found abandoned near Mountain Center. A search and rescue team looked for her. No one has heard from her since. On July 31st, 26-year-old Vanessa Vlasic was reported missing. Her family believes she was in the Idlewild area. Meanwhile, back in Ohio, Debbie is holding out hope.
We're not going to judge you. We just want you home.
Especially for the sake of her daughter's 10-year-old son, Henley, who only knows Mommy hasn't called.
Mommy, come home. You haven't called us for a while.
Absolutely heartbreaking. And the Riverside County Sheriff's Department says they continue to search for these 6 missing people and urge anyone with information to contact their department or any local law enforcement agency. We hope someone out there recognizes them or maybe they see this and contact their loved ones. I'm Kitty Alvarado.
All right. Thank you, Kitty. Late today, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department releases video of a deadly deputy-involved shooting that happened in Palm Desert 3 weeks ago, back on June 22nd.
Stop right there! Put your hands up! Put your hands up! Hands up!
This happened off Boardwalk. Deputies were responding to an alarm at a gun store and arrived to find a car smashed at the entrance of Coachella Valley Guns and Tackle. New security camera video shows 33-year-old Aaron Granado ramming his car into the store several times, and video from inside shows him with what appears to be a semi-automatic rifle. Well, it turned out to be plastic.
The weapon recovered at the scene was a highly realistic-looking pellet gun replica of a semi-automatic rifle. When we have a deputy-involved shooting, multiple investigations are automatically launched. In this incident, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department will handle the investigation of the original call, Mr. Granados' actions when he exited the gun store, and the deputy-involved shooting.
A statement from Sheriff Chad Bianco says this remains an active investigation. Dozens of law enforcement officers representing several agencies conducted a pre-dawn sweep of Desert Highland Estate and Santiago Sunrise Village in Cathedral City with search warrants related to several shooting investigations, the most recent being a double homicide near Palm Vista and Granada Avenue last Friday. Officials say the warrants led to the confiscation of firearms, ammunition, and gang paraphernalia, and one arrest. Well, it's the second day of school for Palm Springs Unified School District. Teachers were able to train and learn the new technology, but for some parents, the switch to online learning has been a bit of a struggle. Our Nico Payne spoke with families and the district to get some answers.
The first day of school looked a little different this year, with kids logging on instead of heading into the classroom. Some families couldn't even access the various online portals.
There's Clever, Seesaw, and then Prodigy. And all of them needed passcodes, and she couldn't even complete an assignment yesterday.
She told me that we're going to meet up in Google Meet. And I called my mom up to say that I don't know how to get into Google Meets because you need a code and stuff.
Palm Springs Unified School District is now offering tech depots for students and parents who are struggling with technology or faulty equipment.
Yesterday, we saw a huge demand at Desert Hot Springs High School, and we requested to have an additional tech depot today to support the need in the community.
At the tech depots, families can come and trade out technology they are having problems with, pick up hotspots, and even new chargers. Wagner, who admits she struggles with technology, hopes for more training opportunities for parents.
I did have a lot of issues, and I'm hoping that, the school realizes that, it's not just the teachers that needed the virtual learning during this time before the school started. It's also parents, too, because we're home with them.
Nico Payne, NBC Palm Springs.
And families are able to reach out to their child's school for technical support. Those email addresses are listed on our website, NBCPalmSprings.com. Just look for this story. We have them all there for you. Well, still to come, the Beirut bride caught in the shockwave of that deadly explosion. Well, she survived, and we'll hear from her when we come back. And we're tracking the Apple fire throughout the evening as new evacuation warnings are issued for Morongo Valley and Whitewater. You're watching NBC Palm Springs. Stay with us. Welcome back. Taking a look at headlines around the world with before and after images of the explosion in Beirut. The top image shows the compound where the explosion happened, and then the bottom shows the same area after the explosion, just about obliterated. NBC's Richard Engel has the latest on the investigation.
The hunt for survivors in Beirut continues this morning, but so far, they're not finding many. And new videos show how the explosion and massive blast wave caught and devastated the city completely off guard. A bride was posing, composed for her wedding video when she and her party managed to escape. Today, she and her groom, in brave defiance, returned to the spot, undefeated.
I was shocked. I was wondering what happened. Am I going to die?
Hospitals are overwhelmed, some badly damaged. An American, the State Department said, was among the more than 130 killed. Thousands were wounded.
And on top of our economic crisis now, I don't know how people are going to rebuild. We are really sad. We are really numb. I don't know where we're going to go from here.
But none of this had to happen. Lebanese officials claim they repeatedly warned authorities that dangerous chemicals were stored at the port for 6 years. The governor admitted officials were warned about the chemicals stored in the downtown port as far back as 2014. Now, Lebanese are trying to rebuild their city and themselves.
France's President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Beirut today and, responding to questions, said the explosion was apparently the result of corruption, divisions, bad governance. Richard Engel, NBC News, London.
2 days after the video of that explosion with its startling mushroom cloud, the world marks the 75th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, Japan during World War II. The city observed a moment of silence at 8:15 a.m., the exact moment the U.S. dropped the nuclear bomb. The U.S. dropped a second bomb August 9th, 1945, effectively ending the war with Japan's surrender. As we head to break, let's take a live look from our Walter Clark Highway 111 cam in Rancho Mirage. Beautiful blue skies, but still smoke off in the distance. Not as windy as yesterday either, but I'm not going to get into that. That's Mike's job. Mike Everett's back after this.
Welcome back. A live look that we've all unfortunately gotten quite used to. Here is your Agua Caliente Casino Cam and Rancho Mirage looking off towards the north and northwest this evening. If there is any good news here, it's that we're seeing less dense smoke, and the color is improving as well. You noticed, especially this time last week, where it was very dark and very thick. Now we're starting to see a lot lighter smoke out there and starting to see a lot more blue sky. As we take a look from downtown Palm Springs, though, right up the mouth of the Banning Pass, it's still not good news. In fact, a couple things going on there. As soon as you go into the pass, you smell and see that smoke. And then we've been seeing some light cloud cover, especially in the Inland Empire. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. The reason behind it, a very powerful low pressure system up in the Pacific Northwest there, actually British Columbia and portions of Alaska, is pushing that flow down into Southern California. You notice that today, temperatures not particularly warm at all, especially considering that it's early August in the desert. This is what I was talking about earlier. We saw this yesterday. We saw it again this morning. We will see that again on Friday. And here's what it is that patchy fog pushing in from the coast there, especially along the 215 corridor near Paris and Menifee. That's where it's the thickest there because it's basically a valley. But we're seeing that in Riverside and out towards the Redlands as well. Doesn't directly affect the fire, but what it does do is keeps the air parcel reasonably moist. And that is some very good news. If it was later in the fall and we had the offshore flow, everything would be very dry there and all of this would be pushed offshore there. So it's some good news. Taking a look at some more good news. Look at that. 102 today. 5 degrees below the 30-year average of 107 for this time of year. 1994, we were 119 degrees and 3 degrees below average in the overnight, set us down in the mid-70s. Oh, if you've been getting up early or staying up late, the air has been spectacular here. Surface weather analysis showing more of that on Friday. It'll be slightly warmer. We'll take it up about 1 or 2 degrees on Friday, but still below seasonal averages. That fog will be around the coast tomorrow. The marine layer is going to be thick again, between about 2,000 and 3,000 feet, and then it will push on shore and again bring a moist air parcel into the Inland Empire. Strongest winds will be about 5 miles an hour less than they are tonight on Friday, so it will get gusty up to about 25 miles an hour in Cabazon and up on the mountaintops as well. The rest of us will see sustained winds in about the 15 to 20 mile an hour range. Looks like dew point relative humidity will be on the low side on Friday, but it improves dramatically this weekend into that 40-degree range. 102 currently in Palm Springs. Wow. 75 in LA. 107 in Phoenix. We are 5 degrees cooler than they are. It's 101 in Vegas. We're only 1 degree warmer than them. Currently 85 and smoky in the Yucca Valley. We've got some smoke out towards 29 Palms as well. Upper 90s there. 104 in Coachella and 70 up in Big Bear. And speaking of 70s, we'll achieve that overnight again tonight. In fact, we could touch down in the upper 60s in some communities. And then only warming to 105 in Palm Springs, 106 in Indio, 96 in Joshua Tree, and 75 in Big Bear. Your Comfort Air 7-day forecast shows us warming going into the weekend, but nothing we can't handle. We'll peak at 111 on Monday, but we'll keep those overnights in the 70s.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
Now to the latest COVID-19 numbers for Riverside County and the Coachella Valley. 764 new cases were reported in the county, 186 of those from our valley. 18 new deaths were reported in the county, 5 of those from the Coachella Valley. Unemployment numbers, another 1.1 million people filed for unemployment benefits last week, marking 20 weeks in a row that jobless claims are over 1 million. We'll be right back. We're taking a live look now at that fire burning in Cherry Valley. This is the Apple Fire. This is a live view from Banning tonight. We'll have a full report coming up at 6. We'll see you then.